Good day, gentlemen. I've been with my girl for over 5.5 years. I've long moved past this stage where I felt insecure in my masculinity, and I felt a bunch of my private mentorship clients do the exact same. In this video, I want to share some maybe unconventional advice that no feel-good YouTubers and also no self-improvement YouTubers will ever give you. We will go extremely deep in this video, because quite frankly, I need to share some mindsets and some action steps with you so you can make progress on this, because so many men struggle with this nowadays, and it just always keeps their relationships from going deeper. It keeps their relationships from becoming that fulfilling relationship that they actually want, because their girl can never open up fully, can never just fully be herself, can never fully trust them. I will share with you a way of thinking that billionaires, pro athletes, and world-renowned artists use to create the success that they do create. And with that, I'll explain to you the exact reasons why you don't feel comfortable in your masculinity and how to overcome this. The thing is this, man. When we talk about masculine, feminine, I'm not talking about male and female gender roles. I'm talking about masculine and feminine sexual energy. And the thing with that is, nobody can be. It's literally impossible to be 100% masculine or 100% feminine. That's just something that I need to get out of the way here, because otherwise the whole video won't make sense for you. Every one of us has a bit of the opposite energy within us, right? There's people who are completely balanced, 50-50, and that's okay. But like by nature, right? Some people are more masculine, but then they lean towards the balanced side, which is of course not okay because they don't live as who they truly are. But at the end of the day, for example, for me, I'm around 80% masculine, 20% feminine. That's just right off the bat, right? And I'll tell you why that is great in the later part of the video. This is not a video where I encourage you to be more feminine or more masculine or whatever. I'm encouraging you to be you and to lean into who you truly are. All of this will make sense in a moment. Just listen up here and make sure you actually listen, because quite frankly, without this knowledge, your relationship is predestined to not become deep, to not become fulfilling. It's predestined for her to not fully trust you and just open to you as you want her to open, right? It's one of the most delightful sights for a more masculine person to see a more feminine person open and just be radiant in whatever way, whether mentally or sexually, whatever it is, right? The thing is this, you've both heard about toxic masculinity, which isn't a thing in my opinion, but anyway, toxic masculinity, and you've heard about the fact that you should become more masculine because that will solve all your life problems, right? The thing is this, if we actually listen to someone who actually knows something about this, rather than all these self-improvement YouTubers or feminists, David Deida, spiritual teacher, wrote The Way of the Superior Man, wrote a bunch of other books. In one of his books, he said, society nowadays is too masculine, not too feminine, too masculine. And he's not telling you to become more feminine. What he's telling you is society nowadays is very directional, right? Very straight line thinking, not flowing, not open, not radiant as the feminine energy, right? And not just that, but David Deida also says that most men are immaturely masculine. They're adopting the kind of masculinity that doesn't really protect, that doesn't really serve. And the kind of masculinity that is hell-bent on never seeming feminine in front of everyone. I heard a fantastic quote about this on a random Zoom call I was on, where the guy, who's a very successful guy, he said, most men nowadays are slaves to not being a pussy. They're slaves to not seeming like a pussy to other people. They're slaves, not as in pussy, as feminine, whatever, but they're slaves to being seen as weak. And most men, unfortunately, still think that the feminine is weak, which is completely wrong. The mature feminine is extremely strong. But the point that I really want to drive home here is that word slave. Because what does the masculine strive towards? Freedom. Always. It's always striving towards freedom, whether financial or spiritual or sexual, whatever it might be. Freedom. Now, being a slave to not being a pussy, being a slave to not being seen as weak, that's the exact opposite of freedom, man. And then the red pill talks about, shit testing, right? Woman or the feminine shit test the masculine. The red pill says the feminine shit tests the masculine to emasculate the masculine, to make it weak. When in reality, the feminine tests the masculine as a challenge that the masculine can then overcome to grow into a more mature version of itself. And not just to grow, but literally to grow up. David Deida says, the masculine grows by challenge, the feminine grows by praise. The masculine also grows up by challenge, by overcoming those challenges. So her shit tests, I call them challenges because that's what they are. And those challenges, quite frankly, are a gift because she's testing what kind of man you are. And you can fail the test or you can overcome her challenge. And with that, become way more trustworthy for her. She will then trust your masculine core more and be able to open to you way more. Now here's an example to really bring this point home for you. There was a podcast between Chris Williamson, Modern Wisdom podcast, and Chris Bumstead, right? The bodybuilder, the wealthy entrepreneur, the father, the husband. And they talked about integrating both the masculine and the feminine energy within you, which is what I talked about earlier, right? I'm around 80% masculine, 20% feminine. So I need to integrate both of those and make them work together in a mature way. They talked about exactly that. And then Chris Williamson said something very interesting. He said something like, nowadays, the most difficult thing for our mind is to hold two opposing viewpoints, seemingly opposing viewpoints at the same time. And at the end of the day, this is what I really want to drive home for you. And this is the way of thinking that I teased earlier, right? Billionaires, pro athletes, all that kind of stuff. Michael Jordan was one of the first players, and the first player who did it well, who played offense and defense at the same time. Before Michael Jordan, there was this fixed paradigm that a player can either play offense or defense. And then he did both and he did it better than everyone else. He broke that paradigm. My parents always told me, yeah, you're good at languages, but not good at math. Right? And school teachers also told me this. I broke that paradigm because I suddenly became good at math. Simple as that. And Mike Tyson, another great example, was a heavyweight boxer. Before Mike Tyson, heavyweight boxers were slow. They had a lot of punch, they had a lot of force in their punches, but they were slow. Mike Tyson was an explosive heavyweight boxer. He had the strength and the punch power, but he also was quick as fuck. He broke that paradigm. Now you have the paradigm that most men have, that they need to be in their masculine all day because otherwise polarity in their relationship gets fucked up and this and this and this and the relationship goes to shit. Well, do you have a great relationship? Do most men who think like this have a great relationship? No, they don't, right? And so you need to break this paradigm because great lovers, they go beyond these seeming contradictions. They're not really contradictions, actually. They play into each other, but people think they're the opposite when they're not. Yes, there's polarity, of course, and that's important, but they play into each other when you go at it from a mature perspective. And I want to tell you exactly how you can do this. Before I tell you this, though, if you enjoyed this video so far, you will love our Free Lovers community because we talk about exactly this kind of stuff in there. So if you're interested, it's completely free, link in description, check it out. The thing is, there are 4 archetypes of the mature masculine. There's the king, the warrior. Those 2 are pretty obvious, and most men who talk about masculinity on YouTube, they only talk about these 2, right? King, warrior, they're obvious. You know what these are, right? You know the king energy and the warrior energy within you. What you don't know is the magician and the lover energy. You know these energies, but you're trying to hide them from the world. And I'll tell you why that is wrong. The magician is kind of like the elderly person, a very wise man, a knower. And the lover is someone who's very empathetic, someone who feels a lot, someone who's very connected to nature and to other people, right? And a very sensitive person in that sense, or a very sensitive side of a person. The thing is, I'll give you a perfect example about this. I have a lot of king and warrior energy, 100%. But I'm extremely competitive, very, very courageous, very decisive, all that stuff, right? It's like tooting my own horn here, but I just need to make this example here. If I didn't have the magician and the lover energy, I would not be able to make these videos and build the business that I'm building here. Because I would not be able to relate to you, empathy, right? And I would also not be able to teach you something in a concise and structured way because I wouldn't even possess that knowledge. I wouldn't be as wise as the magician, right? A warrior who hasn't cultivated the magician and lover energies within him, he becomes a sadist, a person who humiliates people below him, right? And I want to read you a quote which goes, here we go. The lover needs the warrior in order to be able to act decisively, in order to detach from the web of immobilizing sensuality. And he needs the magician to help him back off from the ensnaring effect of his emotion. Simply put, the lover needs the warrior to not get addicted to short-term pleasure, and he needs the magician to not become numb and depressed in that sense. So again, it's the middle between those 2 seemingly opposing viewpoints. Offense and defense, right? Heavyweight boxer and fast. agile, addicted lover and impotent lover, addicted and depressed lover. The middle is where you want to be, because that's where you bring those two together. And of course, these 4 archetypes, they really play into each other, like I just explained, right? So you need all of those. And the thing is, you don't feel comfortable, to really drive this point home for you, you don't feel comfortable in your masculinity because you're trying to hide your more feminine parts, your empathy, your feeling, your flowing, your openness, your maybe beauty, I don't know. But you're trying to hide those parts because you think they're weak, because you've been told they're weak, because society told you they're weak. Again, society is, like David Data said, too masculine, right? Immaturely masculine, but still masculine. And not just that, but also you're trying to hide these 2 archetypes, the magician and the lover, from yourself and from other people, because you again think that you shouldn't have those, or because you don't like them, because maybe they got you into trouble in the past because you were addicted to love. Maybe you were addicted to watching porn, or addicted to some girl that you wanted but she didn't want you, right? So you had one of these immature forms of the lover, and now you're trying to just push that out of the way completely. Now, at the end of the day, man, she can never fully trust you and fully let herself go if she's more of a feminine person than you are. If she knows, if she can see that you don't integrate your feminine parts and that you don't integrate your magician and your lover archetype. Because at the end of the day, man, a king or a warrior without empathy and without wisdom is very dangerous, harmful, not trustworthy at all. And the feminine intuition is much stronger than the masculine. This is also a reason why you should integrate your feminine, by the way, because you'll be able to make much better intuitive decisions sometimes. Of course, sometimes you need to be very decisive and very like warrior-like, right? Just make a decision on the spot. Sometimes you need to take a little longer to make a decision and sleep over it and actually like just let your intuition instead of your common sense make your decision. But the thing is, the feminine has a much stronger intuition than the masculine. What that essentially means is she knows who you truly are. I've had plenty of examples, plenty of experiences with this in the past where I found out something about me and then told this to my girl and she was like, yeah, of course you're like this. Like, I knew this for like 3 years already. What the fuck are you even talking about? And she didn't say it in this like demeaning is not the word, like just down-putting manner, not at all. But I just always talk like this, right? But at the end of the day, she knew who I was. And your girl can feel who you truly are. And she can feel when you're trying to hide parts of you and trying to not lean into parts of you because you're fearful. And you can never be secure in your true masculinity, in your mature masculinity, when you're insecure about your feminine parts and when you're insecure about your magician and your lover parts. That will not happen. And she will never fully trust you and fully open to you, whether that is emotionally or sexually or spiritually, whatever it might be. She will never be able to fully open to you if she is more feminine than you are, if you are not able to cultivate all those parts within you. Now, if you are a more ambitious man than most men and you really want to learn more about this and take your relationship to that next level, to that really deep and fulfilling level, then the easiest and quickest way to make even more progress than with this video is to join our high-level lovers community. This community is built specifically for very ambitious men, professionals, athletes, entrepreneurs, whatever you might do, right? Just men who have a mission in their life or who are seeking to find that mission in their life. And I teach over 160 guys in there at this point on how they can build an extraordinary relationship that will support their goals. So if that sounds interesting to you, click the link in the description right now. Sign up. It takes 1 minute. It's free. I'll see you in there, and I'm excited to talk to you in there.